Hello, everybody.
Yay.
Yeah. Today we're going to be talking about House of the Dragon, season 2, episode 8, titled "The Queen Who Ever Was," and this is the season finale because boo HBO cut out 2 of the episodes. But yeah, today I have with me xElizor.
Hi.
xElizor, hello.
Hi, xElizor.
Yeah. What did you think of this episode as a whole, and what are your general thoughts about the entire season so far? If you can give us a brief rundown of your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, this episode had a lot of moments that I think really wrapped up character arcs this season, and in that way, it was a good finale. Sort of. I think we'll get into that later. But I really liked 95% of this episode, and the 5% I didn't like, I can be proved wrong on.
Yeah, very fair. This episode was probably like the most controversial on the internet. A lot of people seem to hate this episode, and I can understand the sentiment, pacing wise, but there's a lot of there have been a lot of people who, you know, they've come out of the woodworks and kind of exposed themselves as I don't know, what's a nicer way to say incel? Because it really seems like...
I don't know if we need a nicer way to say that.
Yeah, a lot. I've seen a lot of strange takes these past couple of days, and I don't know if I agree with a lot of them. But anyways, I will get to that in a bit. Let's talk about our Lord and Savior Abigail Thorne as Shirako Lohar. What did you think of this character?
I am, I think, in the minority that I thought the character was fine. I have my opinions on philosophy. I'm anti philosophy too.
Oh, okay.
And I could not separate Abigail's acting from her video essay voice, and that was distracting the whole time.
Yeah.
But I thought the character was, in terms of a writing standpoint, was written to be really fun, and I really hope they go somewhere with the gender stuff, because that seemed really interesting.
Yeah, for me, obviously, love trans characters, loved Shirako Lohar. It felt a little weird to have this storyline introduced in the season finale of all the episodes. I thought we were going to get her last episode. I don't mind it. But it seemed like in this episode we were cutting back like a lot to her and Thailand, which I don't mind. The levity is fun. The levity is fun. And especially when she made him sing, like, I lost it at that. That was great, and I hope we get to see more of her in season 3. This character seems to be very, very fun, and I've also noticed that I forget which free city it is in the books, but there are. Oh yeah, that's right. You, if I'm not mistaken, you haven't read any of the books, correct?
I have not read any of the books.
Okay.
I have received a couple spoilers, but I don't really know what happens in the book.
Yeah, that'll be a very interesting perspective for us to discuss in this episode.
I'm sure we'll get into it.
Yeah, but in the books, there's this one free city where all of the people like have like dyed hair, like blue hair and pronouns, and I love that they had this included this in this episode. I found it really fun. Like in the books, Dario Naharis had blue hair and such, which you probably don't know who that is, but yeah. I found.
I've read the Game of Thrones books. I've read I haven't read Fire and Blood.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, but the Game of Thrones books, Dario Naharis had blue hair and pronouns, presumably.
He's also in the show, but... you
Yeah,
know,
I
in
mean,
a
in the show he didn't.
poorly adapted.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought and in the behind the scenes video that they shared, they talked about how they wanted this they wanted to throw Thailand in this like very unfamiliar culture, and they were thinking of like what are the things that Westerners would be like very uncomfortable with, and they were including the stuff about like sitting down on the floor and having these animals near you. And this season has done a really good job of making the entire world seem larger, and I felt that like
Mm-hmm.
seeing wherever this is, I don't know which free city this is, but wherever this is, I feel like that was a really cool inclusion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I it's hard for me to tell. I don't know. It's hard for me to tell what in it is like the line between interesting world building and being Orientalist, because there is like some of that is very reminiscent of like Victorian era Orientalist art.
Oh, I
Um,
see. Yeah.
that, and I haven't really actually done much thinking of it, but at the bit where they see a dancer and like Thailand is sitting, it feels very much like, oh, this could be a Victorian painting showing like a quote unquote explorer in like the Middle East. And I was
Yeah.
a little taken aback by that.
Uh
But
huh.
I haven't done more thinking about it than just the fact that I noticed that.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point you bring up. I wonder if I wonder if future like Game of Thrones spin-offs, if they will try to do some more research into uh like especially some of the um eastern parts of Essos, like Yiti and I think, is it Yin? Yeen? I don't know. But like Yiti is based off of like imperial China, and I don't know what Ashai is based off of, but like it seems like the far east of Planetos has a lot of parallels with the eastern, Eastern Asia. So I don't know if we're going to be seeing that part of the world anytime soon, but it's really it'll be really interesting, and I'm interested in seeing how they handle different cultures and whatnot.
From what I haven't read the World Book either, but from what I understand from watching alternate X videos on it, there's like in universe, there's a decent amount of like othering and like not understanding and not making an effort to understand
Mm.
like these cultures to the east of Westeros, and so it's a little bit hard to tell what the what of this is in universe and what is like the authors being weird about it.
Yeah,
If that makes
that's
sense.
true. That's true. And
But like obviously the Maesters don't really know what's much about east of Slavers Bay.
yeah.
But they talk about it anyway, and they don't really make an effort to actually research. They just like the one guy who's been there in the last 200 years said it was weird, so we're gonna say that it's weird.
Yeah.
But
I think that was Corliss. I think that was Corliss. So
yeah,
yeah. Fun fact: Corliss Velaryon, if I'm not mistaken, he was the first Westerosi person to go to Ashai. So yeah, most
yeah.
of,
I mean, he's
or at least in this
pretty
time
much
period.
sorry.
No worries. I was just saying, in this time period, like most of what we know of like the Eastern world is from Corliss's account. So that's just one person's account. So we don't know how much of that is true or false.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, and obviously in the books, in the show, there's, because the Valarians are black, I guess it has a different. Corliss's expeditions feel slightly different than they would if he was, like white Valyrian who had just,
Oh, that's
were
a very good
not
point.
that far removed from a like like brutal like enslaving empire.
Yeah. No, that's a very good
Like
point.
it would definitely feel like from the show we like see Corlys as cool and like the actor has done a terrific job and like in the show Corlys is really cool and I love I kind of wish they'd given him a little bit more to like be active about, but the actor's doing his like a terrific job and we love Corlys, but like I think he would be perceived differently if he was like the like if he looked like the other Valyrians in the show
Yeah,
and like
because
was obsessed with Valyria.
mhm. Very true. Yeah. Um on that note, we've talked a lot about Shirako, Lohar, and some of the cultures of Essos. Do we want to move to the next topic?
Yeah, whatever if you have more to say.
Yeah, gotcha. I think
Don't
I'm
don't
all
don't,
done.
don't push.
But yeah,
Yeah.
sounds good. So next on the chopping block, we have this really interesting and unexpected sort of development with Kristen Cole. Um, and this is the scene where Kristen is being threatened by Gwaine, and Gwaine uh, figures out, I guess, Kristen is sniffing the Allison's handkerchief or whatever that Cole has been sleeping with his sister, and pretty. We get this really interesting version of Kristen Cole, who seems like uh, he's acting like very nonchalant and like suicidal almost,
Mm-hmm.
and I think I wasn't really expecting an arc with Kristen Cole this season, but it really does seem like that the Battle of Rook's Rest has really changed him. And we only got the one scene with him this episode, but I found it really interesting how Kristen Cole has changed this season. What do you think about Kristen Cole this episode?
I thought that his. First of all, I like that they're using the old timey like the old timey language that they've more embraced with this show was, I think, most evident in that speech. But I thought it was one of the best. Like his little monologue was one of the best in the show so far. And yeah, similar. I didn't think like obviously in the books, Ares Oakheart thinks about Kristen and like doesn't have very much interesting things to think about with him.
Yeah.
Um, so I was not expecting to get any interesting development out of him because like from what I understand, he's seen as fairly one note
Mm-hmm.
by at least the characters in the main book series, and so
Yeah.
I thought it was cool.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully in season 3 they explore more of that with his character. And do you think it's possible, by the way, for like Kristen Cole to have a sort of redemption arc? And if so, like what would he have to do? Like what could he possibly do in his position to paint himself as to redeem himself? Because like in this season we've been getting all of this talk of Kristen Cole as someone who seeks absolution, and so I'm just thinking like, what could he possibly do in season 3 that would make some of the fans be like, oh, okay, maybe this guy isn't all so bad.
I mean, if you look at the things Kristen has done compared to pretty much everybody on the series, like he murdered one guy, and that's like a really low death count.
Oh, he murdered two. How could you forget about Lyman Beesbury, xElizor?
Oh, he murdered Lyman Beesbury. I forgot about Lyman Beesbury.
Yeah.
This is actually awful.
And he sent Sir Eric to his death. He literally killed Eric.
I think he's not good at I think he's not good at his job. But like, you know, he hasn't killed dozens, if not hundreds of people, like a lot of people have in this show. I think people don't like him because he's a jerk and he's annoying, and it'll be hard for people to break out of that mold.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I also don't know if he's going to do anything bad coming, but like his body count very low compared to any of the Dragon Riders.
Yeah,
and we got a redemption arc from Jamie, and people like Jamie, even though he like tried to kill a child in the first episode.
Yep.
And right at the beginning of the books. And, people like Jamie now. But it's because Jamie, wasn't, we understand what's going on through Jamie's head in a way that, I don't know, I think Kristen is understandable, but not, relatable, per se.
Yeah, that's fair to say. This episode, I've realized, really focused a lot on character work and giving us, all of these changes in our main characters and showing us, who these characters really are. Like, we'll get to him a bit, but, Alan, I thought, was incredible this episode, and this speech as well definitely was pretty interesting. Going into season 3, I don't know if you've heard the news, but apparently House of the Dragon will only be 4 seasons, and unless we get confirmation otherwise, it seems like it really seems like season 3 and 4 are only going to be 8 episodes once again. I
didn't understand. I knew it was only going to be 4 seasons. I didn't realize the 8 episode thing was continuing.
I might be speaking out of my ass. But from what Ryan Condal has said, he said something along the lines of, he's anticipating that season 3 will have the same cadence as season 2, and that in my head sort of reads as, oh yeah, it's probably going to have 8 episodes, season 3. So I'm concerned that they shoved all of the character work into this season, and by, come season 3 and 4, we're not really going to get a lot of that character work anymore. It's sort of what happened at the end of Game of Thrones, which I know you didn't watch, but to be honest, you weren't missing much. Near the end of Game of Thrones, it was spectacle after spectacle after spectacle. Every episode there was a battle or something crazy big happening, but we lost a lot of the character work at the end of Game of Thrones. And with this reduced episode count, I'm afraid that season 2 was always supposed to be, oh yeah, we're going to do a bunch of character work so we don't have to do that for season 3 and season 4. So I'm just scared that, after all of this dynamic all of these dynamic changes that a lot of these characters have gone through, that, like, through season 3 and season 4, that's where they are going to be stuck at. That's my concern, that they're not going to really change anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That I think is, yeah. I feel like I feel like I trust a lot of the writers to do a better job than like the Game of Thrones showrunners.
Yeah.
But yeah, it may be just an issue of like not having enough episodes. And that could be an issue. Like they could do the best they can, but if they only get 16 more episodes, it just won't work out, which would be a shame. Even if they don't give up like Dave and Dan.
Yeah, like that's the fundamental difference between like Ryan Condal and D&D, is that Ryan Condal cares about this. Like, you can tell that Ryan Condal really cares about this, and the team behind House of the Dragon really cares about this. Meanwhile, we have Dave and Dan, and they were ready to hop off the train after like season 3, right? I think that's the fundamental difference, and it really sucks that it really sucks that it doesn't seem like we're gonna get a lot of episodes going into the future. But yeah, I'm interested in seeing how they make it all work. A thing about season 2 was Ryan Condal also said that they only had the money to do 2 big like sequences. One of them was Rook's Rest, and the other one was the claiming of the dragons in episode 7. And if you do the math in your head, if they only have the budget to do 2 big sequences per season going forward, like, mathematically speaking, we're only gonna get 4 more big sequences in the entirety of this show. And I don't think it's a spoiler when I say that in the books we get a lot more than 4 more big battles before the end of the war.
Yeah.
So I'm concerned. A little bit concerned.
Yeah, I saw somebody tweeted they blocked out. It was the wiki page for the Dance of the Dragons.
Yeah.
And they blocked out the names of all the things we hadn't gotten to yet. But like, you could tell we were only like a quarter of the way done with the named events.
Yeah. It was more like a third, which I was thinking about this a little bit last night. All of those events on that wiki page were devoted to like what happened in the Dance of the Dragons. Season 1 didn't really cover the Dance of the Dragons. It covered some of it, like the beginning stages of it with Luke's death and all that. But for the most part, like, if you think about it, season 1 and season 2, we knock out a third of the events. Season 3, we knock out a third of the events. Season 4, we knock out the rest of the events. Okay, fine. That kind of makes sense. But again, it's like, I'm afraid we're not going to have enough time to let these events really breathe. I know a lot of people and you know what? That's sort of like a paradoxical thing about the internet, is that people are complaining about House of the Dragon for like so many different reasons. People, they're complaining that the future seasons are going to be they're going to be over like way too quick, which fair, but also it's like, oh my gosh, like, I bet that the future seasons are going to be as slow as this season, which, like, pick a lane. Yeah. You can't have both. It's crazy. But yeah. We were talking about Kristen Cole. I don't know how we got here, but do you, xElizor, do you have anything more to say about Kristen Cole? Or I guess Gwen. Gwen was also in this scene. Do you have...
I saw somebody on Twitter be like, why are they having this conversation out in the open? Why aren't the men like revolting over this? Why haven't they mutinied Kristen Cole after hearing this conversation? And I'm like, I think it's pretty clear that all the other soldiers are pretty far away, and it like it is okay for two characters to have a conversation that the microphone is able to pick up while we can see other people on the screen. It felt just so pedantic that they're like, oh, how are they having this secret conversation about secrets while there are other people around, and the other people are, 30 feet away and busy. And I was like, that pissed me off. But that's the people on Twitter complaining about this scene for logistical reasons was very dumb.
Yeah. I mean, for me, this scene, for me, my one complaint with this scene is it felt very, it felt very random. Like, it didn't have any build-up. I would have enjoyed, one scene maybe before this where Gawain finds out somehow that Kristen has been sleeping with his sister. I don't know how we're supposed to read it. If he found out when Kristen was sniffing the handkerchief, or, if Gawain found out when he was talking to Alicent all the way back in episode 3. And if so, why hasn't he been aggressive towards Kristen Cole since then? I would have really enjoyed a scene where Gawain sort of found out that Kristen had been sleeping with Alicent. That's my one complaint. It felt kind of sudden, but yeah.
The way I read it,
yeah,
was in the scenes where they're talking in the castle court, in the Red Keep courtyard, and all Alicent and Kristen are talking, and then Gawain's in the back room. I read that as he gives them a look. I read that as, oh, he's putting that together, and then now he's getting mad because he put it together. He thinks other people have put it together, and Kristen is sniffing the handkerchief out in the open, and he feels like he's being taunted. But to me, it read like he had already figured it out.
Okay.
In the past couple episodes. And this is him confronting Kristen, because Kristen is not only to Gawain. Kristen not only did it, but is also not ashamed of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's when Kristen's sniffing the handkerchief, he's like, "How dare you be so bold?" Or whatever it is. I don't really know.
I'm interested in seeing where this particular relationship goes in season 3, because it seems like they're setting Kristen and Gawain up as sort of a duo. So I'm curious to see how this relationship progresses. With the fact that Gawain now knows definitively that Kristen has been sleeping with his sister. It's gonna be it's gonna be an interesting one. Do you have anything
Buddy
more?
Cops doing war crimes in the wind. Buddy Cops doing war crimes in the Riverlands.
Exactly. Exactly. Man, Kristen Cole is one of those characters where it's like the sunk cost fallacy, once you start hating him, I feel like there's nothing he can really do for people to stop hating him, because people are just too far, too much on the boat of I hate Kristen Cole, and I don't know.
The haircut didn't help.
Yeah. Interesting to see where this plotline goes in season 3. Do you have anything more to say about Kristen and Gawain, or shall we move on?
No.
Okay, gotcha. Cool. We have the dragon seeds here in this episode. Sorry. I'm gonna drink water. We have the dragon seeds this episode. I personally really enjoyed Ulf this episode. I found it really interesting how you have this bumbling buffoon, and you just put him in a room full of all of these nobles. I really liked seeing their interactions, especially with Jace this episode. That was really funny.
Yeah, I mean, I have been bad mouthing Ulf on Twitter because I think people have forgotten the shitty things he's done in this in the show so far. But I've been tempted to put out to tweet, I forgive Ulf for everything he did, even as a joke, because he's done some pretty awful things and hasn't learned from them. But I love Ulf.
Hold up, wait. Could you describe some of the awful things he's done? I realized that he stole.
He was like harassing Diana. That's the only thing.
Oh, okay. I was thinking about.
Think that's pretty.
Okay, yeah, that is not good. We don't like that. When you said he's done some really shitty things, I thought you were referring to how he stole the potato in episode 2. Like,
oh no, I'm slowly stealing food. Yeah. Convicted, yeah. Crime, but cool. Harassment, sexual harassment, not cool.
Good. No. Yeah. Dragon riding?
People, cool. Having WMDs, not cool.
Dragon riding, cool. Burning people, not cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If anybody is really the rogue prince full of good and evil in equal parts, or whatever the quote is, it's actually Ulf.
True.
Not Damon.
Very true. Yeah. I'm curious. Do you think that Rhaenyra employing these dragon suits? Do you think it's a good idea? Do you think it's a bad idea? What do you think might be the fallout or the implications of the fact that these bastards are riding around with dragons?
More dragons seems like a bad idea. I think that's part of the point of, and I think what's been really good with Chris and Cole is that he's being the, people are gonna hate me in the comments for saying this, but he's being the, Brianna Feast for Crows of this,
oh sure,
series. He's really, like, getting very explicit about how this war is bad.
Yeah.
And that, like, hellish because he's on the ground.
He's becoming he's becoming disillusioned with the idea that war is glorious and a good thing, right? And something that you do to prove your honor. He's being disillusioned with that fantasy.
And I think the people who are on dragons can't see that. Maybe these guys, because they've lived as small folk for most of their life, will have a better understanding. But from what we saw this episode, that doesn't seem super likely. They seem like they kind of want to fly around on the dragons and have power, and aren't really thinking about the small folk. But
I think Ulf definitely fits that description. I would disagree with your take when it comes to Adam and Hugh. Especially Hugh.
I was sort of lumping them all together, but it is.
Yeah. Which, it's interesting to see how, these three people, they seem to have, like, very different ideas and opinions when it comes to, like, this newfound power. Because in this episode, like, I think we see briefly when Rhaenyra mentions that they're gonna have to kill innocent people, Hugh's kind of, like, in shock. We kind of see that expression on his face a bit, so I'm interested in seeing, hopefully in season 3 we get more of their explicit thoughts of what these dragon seeds think of dragons and the power that they bring.
Yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't really noticed that specific thing with Hugh. I think Hugh, like, we people have been talking about how like dragons affect have the dragon's temperament can affect the rider's temperament.
Yeah.
And I wonder if Q is we're gonna see some explicit stuff. Like, it's gonna be laid out clearly that like Q is becoming more and more ferocious by like bonding
with Vermithor. Okay.
Ron's fury. You know, I will shout out Vermithor. That's my favorite.
Yeah, Vermithor's so cool.
Yeah.
Are you hold on? Are you suggesting that Adam will become gay?
Inshallah.
Sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
I said inshallah. I'm taking an Arabic course right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, God willing, Adam becomes gay.
Cool. Nice. Yeah. That's a really interesting point you bring up. I really find I find the idea that Ulf riding Silverwing. I find that really funny because Silverwing, Silverwing's the nice dragon. We saw that last episode. He stepped in her clutch of eggs and she just like knocked him over twice. Silverwing was the dragon of Good Queen Alisan. Probably like the fairest and best a queen that Westeros has ever seen or will see, and to have this like bumbling oaf Mount Silverwing, like I don't know if Ulf is going to influence Silverwing or if Silverwing's going to influence Ulf. I'm interested in seeing how that dynamic plays out, because the dynamic between like a dragon and their rider I think is really interesting, and we've sort of seen that throughout this series, but we haven't really delved too much into that, because like having dragons on screen, that's a lot of money, that's a lot of CGI. But I would like to see, some scenes of more dragon bonding time,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if the fewer episodes gives them more money to spend on more dragon scenes and more scenes with like people hanging out with their dragons, I won't be as mad.
Yeah, definitely.
Like I think if we get scenes of like every time a character has like met with their dragon before they go out for a ride, I think it's been very it has shown a lot about their characters and the relationships, even if it's just a short scene of like reaching a hand out to the dragon.
Yeah, exactly. They did such a good job. They did such a good job with it in episode 4 when Rhaenys was hugging Meleys, and when Aegon was meeting with Sunfire, and you could tell like Sunfire really liked Aegon, and Aegon really loved Sunfire, and Sunfire gave him a little boop, and he looked really happy, and I was like, oh, that's such a cute scene. I love that.
And Aemond and Vhagar last episode, like, even though there was a very brief, like, I don't know, we didn't really see much of them together in episode 7, but there was a little bit, and I thought like, people have been talking a lot about the 30 seconds of Aemond and Vhagar we got in episode 7 for the last weekend. Like, those are great scenes.
Yeah.
Shame dragons are expensive.
To me, I view Aemond and Vhagar's relationship as like, I don't think their bond is very strong, because we see that, Vhagar sometimes like disobeys Aemond's commands, and that, even in last episode, in episode 7, we see that, Aemond had to like say it 3-4 times, like, turn around, Vagar, turn around, before Vagar actually turns around. And I don't know if that's because Aemond hasn't done a good job of bonding with the dragon, or if it's, or if it's like Pokemon, where if you catch higher level Pokemon, but don't have a certain amount of badges, they don't listen to you. Like, I don't know what the rules of that is, but I find it interesting that these different riders have different relationships with their dragons.
Yeah, and I mean, I wonder if there's something about like dragons that like the cradle dragons that like act with the characters,
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
like dragons who are claimed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, obviously, right? Meili's had a rider before, right?
Yeah, Meili's I think Meili's only had one rider before. Yeah.
But had a rider before Rain.
Yes, had a rider before Rhaenys. Yeah. But I
Um,
think Rhaenys claimed Meili's at like a very young age, and they've been with each other for like 40 years or something.
mm-hmm. Yeah, and but like Aemon's not that old. It's probably been what 8-10 years since
Yeah, it's been
playing
around 6 years,
Rhaegar.
I would say, because that was the time skip. That was a time skip in season 1 between young Aemond and then the Aemond that we have now.
Ah, okay, so
Yeah.
they don't probably know each other very well, and they haven't like it doesn't seem like Aemond flies around on Vagar a huge like we don't see Aemon flying around on Vagar on things that aren't military maneuvers.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
who knows?
Do you think that the bond is going to come into play when it comes to these 3 dragon seeds? Uh, their sort of inexperience with their dragons. Do you think that's gonna cause sort of some issues? Because for me,
I mean, they keep bringing up the lessons, the Valyrian lessons, and I think there's going to be some debate or some ambiguity about whether or not it's because they haven't done enough like studying of Valyrian and like theoretical practice, or because the bonds with the dragons aren't so slow.
yeah,
But it definitely seems like they're building up this idea that like the rider and dragon are going to have problems,
yeah,
and it's most likely that it's going to be an issue
yeah,
with these 3.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I definitely think that there's been um foreshadowing that there might be some troubles with these 3 and their dragons. Like, I feel like Adam might be fine. Adam seems like a Adam and Sea Smoke seems kind of like a good duo. Um, it seems like Ulf might run into some issues because he's not the most disciplined person, so he might not take dragon riding very seriously. So I could see a world where even though Silverwing is a docile and very well behaved dragon, that I could see that Ulf being inexperienced with dragon riding and not willing to learn. I can see that causing some troubles with him. And even though Hugh seems more disciplined, I worry because he's claimed Vermithor, and Vermithor is the second largest dragon alive, and I don't know if it's again with the Pokemon rule thing, like once a Pokemon gets to a high enough level, like would it even obey like its rider anymore? Like, we don't know. Interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Do you want to move on to the next screenshot that we have?
Yeah.
All right. So we have Aemond and Helena here, and I found this to be a really interesting scene because you tell me, did it look like that Aemond was crying in that scene a little bit, tearing up?
I'm not sure. Is this the same scene that comes right after the Daemon visions? Or
Yeah, and I probably ordered this incorrectly. I think the next screenshot is the Daemon vision. But but yeah, this is the scene that comes right after the Damon vision.
Yeah. I mean, I think I feel like I don't have a huge amount to say about this scene that isn't in connection with the Damon vision, but I think I'll
Okay,
save
sure,
that
sure,
for the
sure.
Damon vision.
In that case, I mean,
Um,
we can talk about Damon in that case and save that for later. So we can talk about Damon as a whole this episode. Him bowing down to Rhaenyra, his vision, and all of that. It was a lot of stuff, and I've seen on the internet a lot of people complaining about his arc this season. What do you think of Damon?
I thought that this was the best arc in the season.
Okay, all
Um,
right.
I
Take that,
I thought
haters.
a lot of it. I think it was the most George of all the arcs. Um, and I think it'll be like he he changes and grows in ways that make sense. And like obviously he's being prompted to by these visions, but like I don't think that makes the character arc less valid. Like the conclusions he's coming to are because he's getting all these visions, but like the visions make sense, and it makes sense that he'd be changed by these visions,
Yeah,
and that doesn't cheapen the character arc. I don't know. People on Twitter were saying that like the character arc doesn't count because
because
like
of the final vision.
yeah,
That's
because
what I've
like,
heard.
oh, now it's not actually about Damon; it's about the White Walkers.
So I read it as, Damon's always been sort of a narcissist, right? Uh it seems like he really wants the world to revolve around him, and he wants all of this attention. In episode 2 of last season, he went to Dragonstone with the sole purpose of like invoking uh Viserys's wrath or whatever, so Viserys would come to meet him. Like, he's a narcissist. And
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the final vision, you can call it cheesy or whatever, like, but I feel like the final vision does a good job of destroying that sort of narcissistic uh belief that Damon has, because all of a sudden he's not the center of the world, right? Damon's just a very small player comparatively, compared to like the rest of the series and the Targaryen line and all of that. And I feel like I feel like the final vision being a part of Damon's arc, was okay, and it was yeah, like I said, it was a good way to have Damon rethink how he approaches the world. So yeah, I
Yeah,
really
I mean,
enjoyed it.
I was connecting this a little bit to Inception,
Okay.
because like it felt like Alice, or I mean, I think I've got some Alice theories, or however I may be reading it differently than some people are, but Alice or whatever has been like priming Damon over the course of the season. Like
Yeah.
these visions are like messing with his mind in such a way that like if he saw this vision at the beginning of the season, he would not have reacted the same way that he did at the end of the season. And that is, I think, the point that people are missing, is that like we had all this character growth in between, but they're just comparing end of season Damon to beginning of season Damon, and like skipping over the middle bit, which seems wrong.
Yeah, the character has changed and grown, and I think, after this season we're finally gonna get good boy Damon. Because I don't know if you know this, but in Fire and Blood, Damon was described as a person who has like it's kind of a similar situation with Kristen Cole, like a person with equal parts good and bad.
Mm-hmm.
For the majority of like season 1 and season 2, I was always in the camp, people were people were fawning over Damon in season 1, right? Even though he did awful shit, just because, oh my god, it's Matt Smith, it's Matt Smith. But I looked at Damon and I was like, this guy's awful. Like, George, what do you mean equal parts good and bad? This guy, like, killed his wife with a rock and doesn't talk to his kids and abuses Rhaenyra. Like that's...
Yeah.
Like, this guy's awful. But I think that, after this season, we're finally gonna get good boy Damon, and it feels really good. It feels like, honestly, it feels really cathartic that we are finally going to get like a more positive side of Damon, even though I believe that his core beliefs, like his core issues, still haven't really been resolved. I feel like his loyalties have been embedded.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think there's still Damon character stuff that should happen, and as I think talked about earlier, it'll be annoying if it doesn't, but like they've really got the ball rolling in a really in a good direction.
Yeah. Hey, me. I have a controversial take. I think maybe Damon should have maybe just one scene talking with his kids. Maybe.
Yeah.
I think that would be good.
This is true.
For season 3.
I mean, I think definitely if we'll talk about Rhaena in a little bit, but I assume there are lots of things to say about that.
Yeah.
But like if Damon and Rhaena do not interact significantly next season, I think that will be a missed opportunity.
Yeah, exactly.
And I said that about Rhaenyra in Poreless before this season, and I was disappointed, but also not as disappointed as I thought I would be. But
yeah,
that was the biggest missed opportunity this season. We'll get to that too. I'm skipping around, but yeah, Damon and Rhaena need to really interact this season.
Yeah, they definitely need to talk.
I think Rhaena and Damon have more to work through.
Yeah, the season has been, or House of the Dragon has been doing like character pairings, because and you see that in like all of the interviews. Like they have Ewan Mitchell as Aemond, and Tom Glyn Carney, who plays Aegon. Like they do interviews together, and it's Olivia Cook and Rhaenyra together. And last season it was Daemon and Viserys, and Corlys and Rhaenys. I think that going into season 3, a lot of those dynamics will change. Now Rhaenys is dead, Viserys is dead. I think the interviews are going to focus on maybe Daemon and Rhaena going forward, and Baela and Jace, and maybe it's going to be Corlys and Adam, or Corlys, Alan and Adam. It's so. I find it interesting how the characters are shifting around in who they are affiliated with. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also another thing with Daemon, I don't know if you caught this at the end of the episode, but it seems like we're finally getting a Daemon theme song. Back in season 1, Daemon's theme song sounded a lot like, and I'm a crazy lunatic who pays attention to all of this stuff, because I just really like Ramin Djawadi and all of the stuff that he does. But back in season 1, his theme song sounded a lot like Ramsay's theme song, which you probably don't know. It was like the dark, it lacked a melody. Daemon's theme song in season 1, it lacked a melody. It sounded a lot like Ramsay's theme song. It was like horror music. In the final montage of this episode, when they're cutting around to all of these characters, when we get to Daemon at Harrenhal looking at his army, we get this new theme, and from the top of my head, it's like bow, 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 bow. Okay, no, I can't. I can't sing or anything. I won't try. No. That wasn't. it was cool in my head, and then I did the thing, and it wasn't cool anymore. But yeah, we got a Damon theme. Or
Yeah,
at least I think that's how I read it. That's how I read it. We got a Damon theme, and that's pretty cool.
yeah. I know nothing about like scores and stuff like that for movies and TV.
Yeah,
But I'm always fascinated to hear people talk about it.
yeah.
Maybe my favorite Glidus video is the one where he spends half an hour talking about music
I
in the
really.
shows.
Ooh,
Um,
damn. I need to watch that
and
video.
I like don't notice. I like my brain doesn't pick up on the music. It's not the thing my brain focuses on.
Yeah,
But anytime anybody talks about it, I'm like, holy shit, that's so interesting.
yeah. Music stuff.
So if you want to go on a rant about it, I am here for it. If you want to talk more about it.
I mean, I don't really have anything more to talk about Damon and his music, but yeah, I should probably do a video at some point talking about the music, because man, is the music in this series good. Especially I think my standouts are Alicent's theme and Rhaenyra's theme. Because the moment where Alicent walked in wearing the green dress and her theme started playing for the first time, like my jaw dropped to the floor, even though non-book readers probably were very confused as to why this scene was very dramatic. um yeah.
Well, don't they have a line in we're talking about season 1, right?
Yeah, season 1. The thing is, it's not
they,
as dramatic.
They had a little line where they're like, do you know what color the high tower beacon? That seemed a little awkward to me, but
exactly.
It did get across that this is important.
Yeah,
it's important she's wearing green.
Yeah, it's not as impactful when you know, during the crazy event you're told why the event is crazy. Like that's
yeah.
That doesn't have the sort of the same effect. But yeah, we
they
finally
set it up better, but
yeah.
Season 1,
in my
that would have been hard. It would have been hard. Like, it would have been hard to set it up realistically.
Yeah.
Without having the High Towers go to war, which is, from what I understand, not something that's happened in a long time.
Yeah,
so it
exactly.
Would have been hard to,
same thing. I feel the same way about Rhaenyra's black dress. Because I don't think it was ever explicitly like stated that Rhaenyra was closely affiliated with the color black. You know, like that's the color of the Targaryen sigils.
Come up at all.
Exactly. I
just assume they're the black because the
Targaryen sigil.
Wait, no, but the dragon is red, right?
The dragon is red. The background is black.
The black fires are the black dragon. The banner is black, but it doesn't actually seem like. Yeah, I hadn't even thought about that. But in the books, there's like a.
Yeah, in the books they explained it better that, you know, Rhaenyra wore black, Alicent wore green. That's why people called them the parties, the blacks and the greens. In my headcanon, Rhaenyra wore black to Alicent's wedding with Viserys. That's my headcanon. They did record a scene of Alicent and Viserys's wedding back in season 1, but they never fucking released it. They didn't put it in the episode, and I don't know why, because from what I saw of like the photos of that deleted scene, like the outfits were spectacular. Alicent was in this white dress, and in my head canon Rhaenyra would have been in a black dress, and that, you know, that sort of mirrors Alicent wearing green to Rhaenyra's wedding. But, you know, that ship has sailed. That ship has sailed.
Yeah. I mean, the costumes this season, much has been made of Game of Thrones costuming, I think. I don't know, people complain about it a lot. I've seen all the photos of Dany's, season 8 villain Saturday morning cartoon.
Yeah.
Uh, and I think that's the lightest,
Mm-hmm.
like Saturday morning cartoon villain outfits.
Mm-hmm.
But like the outfits, the costuming for this show, we had some close ups on costumes. I think uh, with the dragon seats, the elfin hue and
Yeah.
we got close ups on their costumes, and those
Yeah.
were really cool and
Yeah.
all these cool, interesting details. But it's been consistently very cool and uh, shown a lot about the characters throughout the season,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and in season one too. But,
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I really love that, colors and costuming plays a really big part in this show, because in real life I'm a drag artist. It's what I do. It's costuming, coming up with a look, uh and doing all of that. So like costumes are my jam. Clothes are my jam. So I people discount, I think people discount how important it is for a show to look like, visually look appealing. um I found that, in the early seasons of Game of Thrones, like, even though it was written very well, all of the scenes were done very well, the characters, the storytelling, all of that was good. Like a big thing that lacked for me in early Game of Thrones, and it did get a little bit better to the end because they had the budget for some of the costumes, but especially in like early Game of Thrones, a lot of the characters were very like muted colors, which, and it wasn't like that these were like small folk. It was like Cersei and Sansa and all of the rest. Like they just wore. It seemed like what they were wearing was very random. But we see in HotD, like, the outfits that the characters wear they tell a story. I don't know if you've realized this, but all throughout this entire season, every time Alicent is in the Red Keep and in like her private chambers, every time Alicent is in the Red Keep, she's not wearing green, she's wearing blue. Every time Alicent needs to go outside, she's wearing green. So like publicly,
yeah,
she's still affiliated with the Greens, but like, uh, in closed quarters, she's kind of very hesitant to be like fully supportive of the Greens, and the costuming in
blues
last
are
episode.
the blues are what house is that House Celtic?
Uh,
are
blue,
they gonna
blues
take
are
over
like
and be?
blues are like House Velaryon, but
Oh,
I don't think that's what the
no,
blue
I don't think
represents.
that's.
Um, I think the
I
blue
was
is
trying
just
to.
like a neutral color. I
Yeah,
think the
yeah.
blue is just a neutral color, and it's the color that Alicent wore back in season 1 before she started wearing before she married Viserys. Blue was the color she wore before marrying Viserys, so I think that's very
Oh, right,
telling.
yeah. She had the blue dress in episode one.
Yeah, exactly. So, to me, that sort of symbolizes how she wishes she can go back to the time where, where she was free from all of this like political bullshit. Where she was still friends with Rhaenyra. Um, so I found that really, I found Alicent's like wardrobe this season to be very compelling, and the same thing with Rhaenyra. I don't know if you've noticed in episode 7, but a lot of the characters were wearing like full red that episode, to the point where it was always almost like too obvious. I don't know if you remember, but Alinda Massey, the person who Rhaenyra sent to
Oh,
King's
yeah, yeah.
Landing, like it was almost cartoonish, like the outfit that she wore. It was like this full red um a dress with a hood and everything, and the episode was titled "The Red Sewing," so
Oh,
like
yeah.
that
Yeah.
ties into it. and the people on the show are very smart, and I really
Yeah.
liked it. And we'll talk a bit more about the final outfits of Rhaenyra and Alicent when we get to Rhaenyra and Alicent. But yeah, I have more to say about those two when we get to that. But yeah, costuming great,
Yeah, but
music great.
yeah, they do all the little things that really sell the story and make it compelling
Yeah,
very well in this show.
and then you have
Maybe better
people.
than basically every, like, I think, like, the production. This show is prettier than basically every show, and than basically any show I've seen.
It's so
And
pretty, yeah.
I think, like, aesthetically, it works better than, they throw a buttload of money at it. It should look good, but, like, looks fantastic. Every shot is so pretty.
Yeah.
But it also, like, forwards the story.
Mm-hmm. Like, visual appeal is something that people discount when it comes to television and movies. Wait, didn't I already say that? Yeah, I probably already said that. But yeah, it's really great what the people working on this show have done, and we've been staring at this picture of Daemon for a long time. Do you want to get back to
really talk about the vision itself?
Yeah. Let's talk about the vision itself. xElizor, what did you think about the vision itself?
I mean, we got Green Men, we got Blood Raven.
Okay, I
think one shot of Dany,
yes,
or fake Dany. I saw the actress who's standing in for Emilia Clarke as Daenerys tweet something.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the White Walkers. The White Walker didn't look very good, but like, it felt very much like a book vision. Like, that's what I imagine book visions being like. You get a lot of these cryptic images that only make sense after you sort of know what happened.
Yeah. That was some House of the Undying shit. That was some House of the Undying shit. And I loved it. Oh my god.
And then somebody comes in at the end to talk with you. To like, I don't know, like Daenerys Quaithe vision. She, like, gets a bunch of flashes, and then Quaithe shows up, and then Quaithe says some cryptic stuff, and then leaves. And we never got, like, it felt like all the other ones felt a little bit like, oh, this is a little weird. This felt like an actual George had some input, like, somebody was structuring a dream like George structures these weird dreams.
Because the other visions, like, it was unclear. The other visions were shot in a way where it could be, someone who does not watch House of the Dragon, if you showed them the clip of the other visions, they would just be like, oh, that's just real life, even though we know that it's a vision. This vision has been the one where it's like, no, this is definitely like fucky wucky. This was the first one that was like, we're doing Lovecraft today.
Yeah. And somebody on Twitter was saying something about, like, how, like, they were wondering, I thought only Green Seers could access the Weirwood network, but it seems like Daemon is being given dreams, like Quaithe, the Three-Eyed Crow.
Yeah.
All those things, like, Daemon's being gifted a vision by the actual Green Seer. Which I think sort of brings me to the way I read the scene was when Helena talks to Daemon at the end. I read that as, oh, Alice is some, like, manifestation or of Helena. And, like,
Oh, that's interesting.
that's, I was like, oh,
And
Alice
disturbing.
is Helena. I don't know how that works, and, like, logistically that doesn't seem like it makes sense. But that's the way the scene, that's what it felt like the scene was trying to imply.
Okay, yeah.
But, like, they're definite, like, and, I know they've talked about, like, Alice being 300 years old or whatever in the behind the scenes stuff. And so, like, we know when Helena was born.
No,
It
it's
doesn't
time
really make
traveling
sense that
Helena, xElizor. What are you talking
time
about?
traveling Helena,
Yeah.
that would be so, yeah, I mean, like, obviously the Vision was setting up some sort of connection, some sort of through line between Helena, Bloodraven, and Daenerys. And, like, maybe Helena has time travel magic powers. And whatever. I don't know.
I think
Um,
I think the green magic shit is very interesting in this show. And I think the later seasons of House of the Dragon, it has potential to reveal some really interesting stuff with all of the green magic stuff, because I genuinely do think that Laris has some green magic with warging the rats. I don't know what's going on there,
yeah,
but I think in the later seasons we will be exploring, some of the more mystical elements of A Song of Ice and Fire, and how Alice and how Laris and how Helena connects with all of that. And yeah, I don't really have any theories cooking myself, but if you want to hear about some cool old gods theories, like Michael talks about stuff, is your guy.
yeah, and Mira does a bunch of that stuff too. Yeah,
Oh yeah, Mira, yeah.
yeah. It's it's. I have a singular old gods theory that
Okay,
I have been cooking for over a year at this point.
okay.
That I will eventually. Um, it's if people have some people have heard me talk about the fact that I have a theory that has like 160 pieces of evidence or something, um, and connects to anyway. I have a big old god Grease here magic theory, but that's pretty much the only thing I've ever done with Green Seer magic, and most of all my other theories are like weird political stuff. I don't get into the magic a huge amount, so that's why I'm a little confused about what's going on in this scene. But to me, it read like there's definitely some connection between Alice and Helena, and that I'm hoping that will, like, to me, it made a lot of Alice's motivations don't really, like, why does Alice care about Damon? Like, that, maybe Alice can see the future and wants Damon to, like, stay with Rhaenyra so that the future can happen. But, like, it makes more sense if Alice is working with Helena, because we sort of have some idea at this point of, like, the things Helena wants and the things Helena is trying to prevent. And, like, if Alice is maybe not a, like, part of Helena's mind, but, like, Alice and Helena are in league somehow as, like, the two magic people.
Wait. Are you
Like,
suggesting?
that would make sense.
Yeah, are you suggesting that, like, that's where Helena and Allison's story is gonna go? Is Are you suggesting that that's where their story is going in the future? Is that Helena and Allison will be working with Alice in some capacity? Because yeah,
Yeah,
that's really interesting.
I don't know why Alice is doing it other than the reasons Helena would be doing it.
Yeah, okay.
Like, and like why Alice is clearly giving Damon this vision, and then Helena shows up in it. Like, the only, like, that only seems to happen when people are connected. Like Jojen, does Jojen ever give Bran visions? But like
No.
people, maybe Bloodraven is giving. I don't know. Like people, you don't see people like hijacking visions that somebody is already being given. Like Euron will give a full vision, or Quaithe will give a full vision, but they won't be overlapping Quaithe and Euron visions. If I could be misremembering, but it like I don't think Alice would. To me, it read like Alice was purposefully showing Daemon these things, and it would be weird if Alice wasn't working with Helena in some capacity.
Oh my god, that's so interesting.
And then for Helena to show up in the
game. Do you think Larys could be connected to this entire thing? Because I mean, what are your thoughts on Larys? Like, do you think the theory that he's warging all of the rats, like, do you think that's bullshit or what?
I think that's maybe. I think if Helena is on some sort of pipeline from, like, if there's like a Helena Bloodraven to like Bran and Dany pipeline, then like probably, and like Alice is working with Helena, then it would be weird if Larys also wasn't like if Helena's reaching out to people just in the same way that Bloodraven reached out to Bran and Euron and Jojen.
Yeah.
It would make sense that Larys would be roped in some capacity. Mm-hmm. People have been saying Larys is the Littlefinger Varys of this show, but maybe he's secretly the Euron of this show?
Yeah, maybe he's secretly the Euron of this show, exactly. Okay, so when you pitched me... When you pitched me your theory of, like, Helena and Alice working together, my mind immediately thought of the fact that, you know, Larys grew up at Harrenhal, and so he probably knew Alice from his time at Harrenhal. Yep. And right now, Larys is...
Doesn't Simon Strong or somebody, or Larys say that they thought, like, his clubfoot was, like...
Magic, yeah. A curse or something.
Yeah, some people assumed that meant... Oh, shit. No. I just noticed a hole in my pants.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, it tends to happen.
Alice didn't like you talking about her like that.
Yeah, well, there was some sort of implication with Larys that, like, Alice was involved.
Yeah. And, you know, right now, Larys is at the Red... Well, before this episode, Larys was at the Red Keep, right? So he would have access to talking to Helena and all that. And another thing about this show is it does a really careful job of showcasing what scenes to show and sort of, you know, when I'm watching this show, I think of when I'm watching certain scenes, I'm thinking, like, whose POV is this scene being shot from? And I think a rule that House of the Dragon has set up is that if they are going to introduce a character, we must have a POV character in the same room as them during their introduction scene. We can't have a totally brand new character being introduced without another character we already know accompanying them, right? I
mean, we get is in the first episode we get there's like a voiceover in the very first episode of the of season 1.
Yeah,
and like we're introduced to Rhaenyra, and like sort of like through voiceover, and then she introduces a couple, like, she introduces Viserys,
Yeah.
and then, yeah, I think and then we see Rhaenyra on Dragonbone, and then we meet Ellis,
Yeah.
or Alicent, and, like, yeah, I think you're right.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so where I'm going with this is
Okay, sorry.
I don't think we've ever had a POV scene with Helena or a POV scene with Laris, because every time we've seen Helena and we've seen Laris on this show, every time we've seen those characters, they are with another POV character. Every time we've seen Helena, she's either with um Alicent or Aemond in this case, or even Blood and Cheese. It's crazy
Yeah,
that we've gotten POV scenes with Blood and Cheese and no POV scenes with Helena, because Blood and
yeah,
Cheese sort of introduced Helena in that scene instead of the other way around. So we've never gotten a POV scene with Helena, and we've never gotten a POV scene with Laris, because we've always been introduced to Laris, through other characters, through Alicent, through Rhaenyra, in that one scene in episode 3 of season 1. And like this season, there are lots of like Aegon scenes, and then Laris just walks in. We never start a scene with Laris. So
yeah,
in my headcanon, like, it's plausible that the two of them could have been talking. It's plausible, and I don't know if it's true, or if they're gonna reveal that somehow, or what's gonna happen. But it's interesting stuff.
yeah. I mean, I think Laris and Alice are the two people whose motivations are the most mysterious to us
Yeah,
right now.
yeah,
Like, why is Laris bad at being a spy master? Like clearly he wants power, but clearly he's also sabotaging his own ability to be a
yeah,
spy master, and like that, like he clearly has something else going on. I hope. I hope they're setting something up.
yeah,
Uh, uh, and like I think, yeah, a very interesting answer to what is up with Laris is that he connected with this old god magic, and like that's an answer that would be interesting, and not just, oh, he wants to sit on the Iron Throne at the end,
yeah,
with Sansa by his side.
yeah, yeah.
The fucking Littlefinger, show Littlefinger.
Mm-hmm. Show Littlefinger.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, really interesting stuff, man. I think I've sort of exhausted all I wanted to say about Helena
yeah.
and co. Do you have anything more to say?
No,
Okay.
I want to bring up we got a Green Man again,
Yeah.
just because I'm excited about that.
Yeah, we literally got a
Yeah,
green man with fucking antlers. That's crazy.
yeah, yeah.
Man.
Um, yeah.
I,
It's annoying that the Green Men aren't horses, but
no, no, no.
not everybody can be horses in
I,
this series.
I think we just saw. I think we just saw Tyrek Lannister. I think we just saw Tyrek Lannister this episode.
Yeah,
They were alluding to it in episode 1 with all the horse stuff. It's crazy. Okay, I'm gonna move us along.
yeah,
We have Alan and his very emotional conversation with Corlys. This was like a standout scene of this episode for me. I was really
yeah,
I was kind of confused throughout this entire season of, why Alan was acting weird around Corlys, but this scene did a really good job at explaining why he feels that way, and I think it sets up potentially a very impactful arc going forward. Both with Alan's character and Corlys's character. And you know, without getting into too many spoilers, Alan's relationship with Corlys is important in the story going forward, and I'm just it was really cool to see the seeds of that playing out in this episode. What did you think
Yeah.
of this scene?
I mean, the first thing I was sort of live tweeting this episode, but like whatever. The yeah. Uh, the logistics of my tweeting doesn't really matter. But I tweeted very quickly, and like after this scene, Abubakar Salam is so fucking good. Like
Oh,
the
he
acting in this
is.
scene
Yeah.
was fantastic. This is up there with the best acting in, like, obviously Emma Darcy and Olivia Cook are fantastic too, but I would put this up there with their best moments.
This is the Emmy season. This is the Emmy season.
Yeah, yeah. Like, I don't know what the Emmy category is, but if there's like a best supporting actor, and or whatever, like a best speech or something,
Yeah.
like he should be getting a nomination minimum.
Yeah.
But I think season 1 showed Emmy voters don't want to give credit to this show,
Yeah.
which is sad. But
I mean, who are we competing against? This. Oh wait, we're competing against Shogun, aren't we?
Against what?
Who? Which other shows are realistically going to be snatching Emmys away from this one? And I just thought of Shogun, right?
Shogun. I haven't seen it.
Yeah. It's really, really good from what I've heard. I haven't seen it as well.
Yeah, maybe we'll get around to that once I consumed all the House of the Dragon content.
Yeah.
But we've lost because of the writer's strike this year in TV is kind of sparse.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so we might.
I also didn't see The Sympathizer, but that seemed to get
Oh, okay, sure. Yeah, I mean, it does seem that this show. It really does seem that this is the Emmy season. I really do think this because
it doesn't have Succession and
exactly. Yeah, what's gonna do you really think Star Wars: The Acolyte is going to rob Emmys from this show? Do you really think Rings of Power season 2 is gonna rob this show from all of its Emmys? Like, Arcane is animated, so I don't think that's like applicable. Yeah, really cool stuff. Really good acting. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think this scene in particular, cemented the fact that season 2 really was about like this emotional catharsis, this emotional journey of all of these characters before shit hits the fan in season 3, and how the beginning stages of a war affects all of these people, and I think that it's really powerful that Alan going into this war essentially is like, I won't accept any help from Corlys because I want to be self-made. I feel like that motivation is really compelling.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think, sort of going back to what we've said before, I'm sort of mapping, because I did watch I watched the first 4 seasons of Game of Thrones, and then I've seen the piss takes of the Glidus piss takes, and some of season 5, of the show, and I'm mapping like the trajectory of this show onto seasons 1 to 4 of Game of Thrones.
Oh, okay. I actually. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Yeah.
or onto the first three books ish, and like this feels, and like a lot of season 2 was a lot of this political scheming and like characters like having to adjust and grow.
Yeah.
And like learn throughout the season. After like the war that was started at the end of season 1.
Yeah.
And we didn't get a Blackwater. But
ooh, good point. Yeah, we didn't get a Blackwater this season, which we could have.
Blackwater, I think this would have been like if this season got a Blackwater, it would be thought of as well as.
Here's the thing, xElizor. At one point in time, this season did have a Blackwater, and that's all I'm gonna say. At one point in time, I guarantee you, this season had a Blackwater.
Like in the writing process?
Yes. I guarantee you.
There was Blackwater in various points. I think all.
No.
Through some black liquids.
I literally mean that there, at one point in time, I guarantee you, in the studios, a sequence similar to the Battle of the Blackwater was written for this season.
And then it was part of the stuff that was cut in the last
Yep, and then it was cut.
That's what I've been saying. Like we've got multiple fleets, we've got multiple castles, and a lot of armies. It would have been great to see, an action scene where we could have seen the characters change in action, like the character development play out, and like see some of the results of the character action.
Yeah.
It would have been great if we had 10 episodes. Fuck you, HBO.
Fuck you, HBO. Oh, yeah, let's just hope for the best for seasons 3 and 4, because we really need 10 episodes for season 3 and season 4, but we'll see. Yeah. I just want to talk...
Ryan begging them.
Yeah.
If Ryan can beg them.
Yeah.
If Ryan... I think Ryan wants more episodes. That's the difference between Ryan and Dave and Daver.
I think that too. I don't know how nice HBO is going to be, but we'll see. You mentioned that you watched the first couple of seasons of Thrones. I just want to talk about the double standard that people have, because I think people forget about this. The first couple of seasons of Thrones, the formula was big shit happens in the penultimate episode, and the final episode was wrapping things up and giving us time to breathe. That was always the formula. And people were fine with that formula, and the exact same thing is happening here, where the penultimate episode we get the dragon seeds, and episode 8 we get this superb emotional journey for all of the characters, and people are complaining. And I think people are complaining because we don't have a season 3 right now. Most of the people who watched Thrones, I think, started like around seasons 5 through 8, right? Just because it didn't blow up right away. Even though it did pretty well. I think a lot of people who complained about this season, especially this episode and where it left off, were the same people who, had the opportunity to watch seasons 1 through 4 all in one sitting, right? And they didn't have to wait a year.
Yeah.
And now they're complaining because they have to wait 2 years, which is reasonable, but what's not reasonable is like this double standard of thinking that this episode was a shit show just because it wasn't an explosive battle.
Yeah.
That's my take. That's my take.
Mm-hmm. I pretty much wholeheartedly agree. I did a roundup of I collected in my notes app and then tweeted out roundup of all of the action scenes in each season, in each of the first 4 seasons of Game of Thrones. And season 2 has like 5 scenes that could be considered action scenes. There's
Yeah.
like Arya's, the Yoren Arya, them getting attacked by the Lannister men.
Yeah.
There's like Jon and Ygritte, like Jon, they like ambush Ygritte. There's the riot at King's Landing, there's Blackwater, and then there's like the fake duel between Jon and the Hand,
Yeah.
which doesn't really like like there really isn't that many battles in season 2,
Mm-hmm.
and people don't like the last few seasons, but they want the last few seasons, and they think the thing that's bad about the last few seasons is that they have some dumb jokes, and so people are mad at Chiraco Lothar because it's kind of silly. But that's not actually the issue with the last few seasons. It's not that Tyrion's making dick jokes all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's that the plot makes no sense, and like characters don't have any motivations anymore,
Mm-hmm.
and actions don't have consequences.
Yeah.
I think people don't quite understand why they don't like the last few seasons, and want this show to be more like the last few seasons, even though they don't like the last few seasons.
I've
seen like the last few seasons, but they've been gaslit by the community into thinking they're bad.
Yeah, no, I've seen a disturbing amount of people in like YouTube comments and on Reddit and wherever. I've seen a disturbing amount of people being like, this episode was on par with season 8 of Game of Thrones, and unironically people being like, oh, Dave and Dan would have done better. And I'm like, did you watch the same show? Miss Thing, did you watch the same show that I did?
Yeah.
It's crazy. And I don't know what happened between the end of Game of Thrones to right now, that the fandom is so I don't have words. I think we just inherited a bunch of disillusioned Star Wars fans, and they've sort of made our community a lot more toxic. I think that's the issue. I think people logged out of Star Wars and found the Game of Thrones franchise and decided that they were decided that they wanted all of the action in House of the Dragon, and then when they didn't get all of the action, they were up in arms about it.
Yeah, there was. I'm looking at Twitter again because there was a tweet that said a similar point.
Yeah.
That I thought was very smart, and I wanted to try to find it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's very funny.
Like people want a show. They want the show to not be Game of Thrones, but they want people to think of it as Game of Thrones is great because it's not like any of the other shows. Yeah.
There are so many contradictions to all of these
but they want it to be like other shows.
Yeah.
But also still have the prestige that comes. I don't know. It's like watching The Wire because you liked Chicago PD or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That was, or The Rookie or whatever fucking top show is popular. Mm-hmm. I don't you're going into the show with the wrong expectations, and you're going to be disappointed, and you're going to think, oh, this is bad, even though, and you're going to come out thinking, having wrong ideas of what makes shows good.
Yeah, exactly. It's the people who came into House of the Dragon thinking it wasn't, supposed to be viewed through a feminist lens. Like, what do you mean that this medieval show is woke?
Yeah.
All that jazz.
Yeah, they don't want it to be. They don't want. Yeah. People forget. I think people don't understand that because I don't know, like so much modern media is made by people who aggressively try to shun having like anything political, any political takes. I don't know. I'm thinking about Marvel movies now.
Mm-hmm.
Like Black Panther is the only one with sort of a political take, and I don't really think it has a political take.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the apoliticality,
like that's,
the apoliticality
George
of
is just not that.
yeah, exactly. Because the Game of Thrones franchise like always had a political message. George is like the hippie of all hippies. Like what do you expect?
A conscientious objector. You think he's gonna have a positive opinion of war? Like
yeah.
The show's gonna be about how war is bad, and if there's a war and the war is bad, and the war is started by like the aristocracy, is gonna look bad on the current system because war is bad and the current system is doing a war.
Yeah, exactly.
I get mad at people. My common refrain is, why did people skip A Feast for Crows when reading the books?
Like, right? Yeah. No, exactly, because
the views are so explicit.
We book fans, we like us like actual A Song of Ice and Fire fans like we know that Feast is our favorite book. Feast is Ryan Condal's favorite book, and that's how you know that he cares about this show, is because Feast is his favorite book of the series. Because it was the one that delivered a message that could be applied to the modern world. Like, it's... Yeah. I don't know. I think a big pitfall of the original series, Game of Thrones, was it tried too much to cater to everybody. So in the end, it kind of disappointed everybody because like Dave and Dan, they wanted Game of Thrones to cater towards like the working moms and the football players and they didn't want to make it too fantasy because otherwise that would make it too geeky, But and this show has done a good job so far. It has done a good job catering to, let's say, a more intelligent audience. Both with, the language and also the theming. And my take is that the people who are threatening to not watch season 3 after season 2, that's a good thing, because we don't need the detritus in our community. We don't need it. We don't need the dead weight.
Yeah.
That's maybe a harsh take, but that's what I believe.
No, it's fair.
That's my political party.
I can't. Yeah, if we have more people, we need. I don't know. There was a tweet that was like, House of the Dragon is for women. If you're not a woman, please shut up about House of the Dragon. And that's not like actually.
No, that's true.
The take, but it really.
No, like, that I agree with that 100%.
Straight men having why is it exclusively straight men who are having bad takes about this show?
Yeah,
so loudly and consistently all over the internet.
Mm-hmm. I mean, unfortunately, that's the sort of like media climate that we're in. The reason why like Marvel movies have been so popular is because we have a bunch of unintelligent people in consuming media, and that's no fun.
Yeah, I mean, there's also a whole thing going on Twitter right now where like people are talking about how people should be reading young adult books, and that's actually where the real literature is. That's like people just want literature for children. They just want art for children, and that's not. It's like you can like kids books. Percy Jackson is fantastic, but like only reading Percy Jackson when you're an adult and have a real job and all those things, you're not getting the most out of art and media. Like, it's important to have art and media, and
Yeah.
you
Man.
should have adult art and media, and it's not all just supposed to be. It's not all gonna be fun, but it can be enjoyable without being schlocky fun where you turn your brain off.
And that's a life theory. Heck yeah.
Yeah.
This is real hours.
You kind of need your brain to live. Don't turn it off.
Yeah.
That's my take.
Very
Don't die.
True. Yeah. And that's why we love this series so much. And we'll talk about Alicent and people complaining about Alicent later. But yeah, I don't know how talking about Alan got us talking about that, but yeah. Good points. Do you have anything more to say about Alan of Hull, or shall we move on?
I really like this costume. I really like this.
Yeah.
This shirt Alan's got on. It's really cool.
If this were Game of Thrones, the blue would be so dark that it would basically be black or gray.
No, it would be gray.
Yeah.
And it would have like a blue, like a very dark blue lining.
Yeah. Man, how fun is this show? This show actually uses color to tell a story.
Yeah,
it's so good.
There is fun to be had, but also you can think about it.
Yeah.
Like, this show is enjoyable and also interesting, and that can... It can be both things.
Mm-hmm.
People are going to understand that it can be both things.
Yeah. Speaking of which, like, a minor tangent, but I'm interested in seeing how Daeron is going to dress, because I don't think he's going to dress like a traditional Hightower. I don't know what I don't know what I'm even implying, but yeah, I'm interested in seeing what Daeron is all about.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because he's got a blue dragon, right?
He's got a blue and orange dragon. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it would be cool if he color coordinated. And it would also maybe connect with Alicent wearing blue.
That is a really good point. Yeah. We have more of like a moderate green. Now it just seems like I'm talking about politics, which I guess I am. We have a more moderate green, Okay.
Yeah. We're pivoting midway through this video to talking about the Democratic presidential nominee.
Yeah.
No.
It was a missed opportunity. We didn't see any coconut trees this episode. When
no coconut trees. We could have seen them in the free.
Yeah, exactly, with Thailand.
I assumed it was Tyra.
Oh, Tyra. Yeah. Weird. That makes sense.
But it could have been any of the other ones, because I guess there are 3 of them, right?
Yeah.
Priority, it's 3 of the cities.
Yes.
So it could, presumably they travel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyways, I don't have anything else to say about Alan, so let's move on to Aegon. And actually, while I was getting this image, I was planning to talk about Aegon and Larys. We kind of talked a little bit about Larys with all of the rat warging things, but in this episode, I found it interesting that Larys mentioned that he was taking Aegon to somewhere in Essos. What do you think is happening there? Because I can say, as a book reader, I don't know. I don't know what's happening there.
Is that not a thing that happens in the books?
What happens in the books is not what seems to be happening here.
Well, it is. It's a smart. I mean,
What's the plan? What's going on?
Laris is pulling a Varys here, right? He
With Tyrion? Like Varys with Tyrion?
with no more with the initial plan with young Griff.
Oh, okay, sure. Yeah, okay.
Like he wants Viserys to come through and wipe out, like throw the kingdom in chaos, and then he would come in with Aegon and be seen as the savior.
Sure. Okay.
And like the rebuilder, and that's what Laris is doing here. I think that might be, and like I think it's very possible they got this.
That's interesting.
That from the book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think we're gonna get a lot of Aegon scenes in season 3? Because I don't know what could happen in the Free Cities or Essos that would warrant us having a lot of like an entire like plot around Aegon and Laris. But yeah, what do you think? Where do you think they go from here? Like physically, like where do they go to?
I mean, it seems like they're going. They would have to be going north from King's. Like we see them leaving in this thing.
Yeah.
It seems like they're going north from King's Landing. Like you can't really go south super easily.
Yeah, so they're going somewhere in Essos.
Are they even gonna make it to Essos? I don't know.
Oh yeah, wait, hold on. Wait, I mean, because the Triarchy is like moving towards Westeros, but
yeah,
I don't know if the Triarchy is gonna stop Aegon, seeing that Aegon, like they're technically fighting for Aegon.
Yeah, but I don't think. I feel like Laris is being sneaky about it and is going to try to go around, which means they're not going south.
Oh, okay. They're going.
Where the Triarchy's coming.
Yeah.
And they can't go straight east because that's where the blockade is. They're having to go north.
Oh wait, I just thought about it.
Into the fighting.
Yeah,
and
wait.
Stop them from beginning.
I just thought about it. They said that they were going to Bravos, I think. Because that's where the Iron Bank like has a bunch of gold from I think Harrenhal.
Oh right, said. Yeah.
Wait, are we gonna get fucking faceless men? Oh yeah, we were thinking about the same thing. Wait, are we getting faceless men? Oh my god.
Yeah. That'd be fantastic.
That would be so cool. Like that might be a little bit cheesy. Sorry?
What character in this show would be the most interesting? What character in this show would be the most interesting to be revealed to be a faceless man, and which one would be the funniest to be revealed to be a faceless man?
Okay, most interesting to be revealed as a faceless man, maybe like Laris himself. I don't know.
This is
Yeah, because like there's this thing of like what's up?
I really like that. I'm just saying,
There's this entire thing of like the faceless men. The people that they kill, they make it intentionally seem like they died of natural causes, right? So, like, I feel like that would be up Laris's alley. The funniest person to be a faceless man. Tyland Lannister?
What about Cheese?
No, what about Cheese's dog?
Yeah, Cheese's dog. That's great.
Oh, that's so good. Wait. Lyman Beesbury is not dead, yeah. No, Kristen Cole. And he's just doing a very bad job at making the deaths seem natural.
I mean, but I think Laris being a faceless man, like, the faceless man, like, Laris could still be Laris and also be a faceless man, or, like, working with the House of Black and White.
Yeah.
Because, like, we know the Bravos, he don't like Targaryens very much. And
Oh,
like
that is
Laris is
so
bad at his
true.
job.
Holy shit! Wait, that's
And
so true.
If Laris has like some green seer power, like obvious, like he'd be targeted by the House of Black and White, and they're like, we're not actually going to give you another face. You're just going to be yourself, and you're going to go back there, and you're going to like be bad at your job and mess with people in such a way that you like get Targaryen dead. He'd be doing a good job of that so far. He got Jaehaerys killed. He's gotten all these people killed, and he doesn't. He's like proliferating the war.
This is my favorite.
By being a bad spy master.
This is my new favorite theory.
He's secretly a faceless.
This is my new favorite theory, and I mean, think about all of the returning Game of Thrones fans as well. Like as much as I don't want to say this, but like that's pretty good fan service, if I do say so myself. And it's not ridiculously like cheesy or cash grabby. Like you could make that work. Yeah. That's really cool.
Yeah. The waif is really old in the books, right?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. The waif was just a girl in the show. I don't know.
In the books, there's some like they play the lying game, and Arya's like, you can't possibly be that old. So it's possible. Maybe the House of Black and White can make you live forever.
Yeah.
So we could get cameo. We could get a Jack and Hagar cameo.
Yeah. Dang, that's really crazy. Yeah. Honestly, wait. Now that I'm thinking more about it, like Aegon's season 3 storyline might be my most like anticipated storyline now. Like, forget about this Westeros shit. What's happening in Braavos? What's happening in the House of Black and White? Yeah. That's crazy.
If they don't put Glidus's One Night in Braavos parody, it'll be a missed opportunity. But yeah.
I mean, come on. The showrunners have already done some nods towards Glidus's theories before with the lemon tree and with the horse this season. Like, come on. Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what happened.
Okay. That's all I have to say about Aegon and Larys. I think that what you came up with was really, really compelling and really, really interesting. Do you have anything you would like to add or say about this scene, or
no? But there should be some theory crafting. I hope the comments have thoughts.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to the final, not the final scene, because we will be talking about Rhaena and Nettles and how it seems, it's technically not confirmed. We aren't at the point where Nettles is 100% being replaced by Rhaena. We're not at that point yet, but we're starting to get closer to that number, like every single day. Who knows? Maybe Nettles could be behind this dragon right here. Maybe Nettles could be like right here, just being blocked by the dragon's wing. But it seems like Rhaena's replacing Nettles. What if the dragon
is already claimed and Rhaena tries to claim it, and then it's revealed that there's somebody else already on top of it?
I mean, on top, I don't see a saddle. But then again, Dany didn't need a saddle in season. In Game of Thrones.
It seems like, didn't they say something about these dragons getting the saddles from birth? And so
not from birth, but like when they are being very young. When they're able to be ridden, the saddles are built in a way that they grow as the dragons grow. I don't know how that works, but yeah. And so they kind of just stay there 24/7. Like, the saddles don't get taken off. They just stay on the dragon 24/7, and they just kind of grow with the dragon. is how they described it, I think. Um,
Mm-hmm. So, but it may be that putting a saddle on a dragon is very difficult
yeah, I mean,
once they're older.
especially Sheep Stealer
There's
here.
a lot of,
Like,
yeah.
if Reyna does end up taming Sheep Stealer, I doubt that this little guy would like having a saddle put on it. By the way, I love Sheep Stealer's design. Just
Yeah,
based like the coloring of like the white marks and then the curved wings that are kind of like almost overgrown. It's so cool.
they've really done a good job of making all the dragons feel different.
Yeah, they're all different. You know immediately who they are, like when you see
Yeah.
them, and that's great.
Um, yeah, so I guess we can talk about the nettles of it all.
Yeah, because
It's been
yeah.
established. I haven't read Fire and Blood. And so I'm at a position where like it seems to me reasonable that uh Reyna would be looking for a dragon, and there's a dragon there, and like maybe Reyna will tame the dragon. If we didn't see the actual, I hope they don't cut away from the actual taming like they did with Adam. Adam,
Yeah.
right? Alan is the shipwright, and Adam is the dragon rider.
Yes.
Um, yeah, they cut away from that, and then we just cut to him riding the dragon. I hope we'll see some actual taming of the dragon, because like it seems,
Mm-hmm.
Chief Stealer seems like probably a more difficult dragon to like bond with.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And so hopefully we'll get actual scenes of that. Um, but I think, like I'm at a position where Reyna, like this feels, it doesn't feel off to me. I was saying before we started recording, I think that like, I crapped out in season 5. But the storyline I was enjoying the most was Brienne in season 5, and I like the Brienne was one of my favorite characters in season 5. I was like, I don't really see how you could fit a zombie Catelyn Stark in here anywhere, because I'd heard about Lady Stoneheart, but like I couldn't see where it fit in. And I was like, oh, it didn't really need like that was the character to cut. That's a little weird. I don't see how it could fit in with Brienne's story. And then I read the books and I was like, this is fucking cool. How could you cut Stoneheart?
Yeah, yeah.
That's awful. And like from what I'm getting from people, it seems like that's like is Nettles the Lady Stoneheart cut from this show? And if so, that would be bad. Or are people overreacting to the fact that Nettles is probable to be cut?
And I told you this before we started recording as well. Without spoiling too much, Nettles in this show is sort of the catalyst for one of the other characters to undergo a big change. And people are worried because if Nettles gets cut, then they don't see how the other character will undergo this necessary change.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. And also another thing about Nettles is that Nettles is a woman of color. So she's in the books. She's described as a tiny brown girl on a tiny brown dragon, is what it's described as, and so people are kind of mad that they seemingly cut another POC. And also, that POC wasn't visibly Targaryen. So the implication of Nettles being a character in the story is that you really don't need Targaryen blood to claim a dragon, and this like mystique of the dragons being gods, it's all a lie. And people are saying that, oh, they're just giving Nettles the role of Nettles to Rhaena, who is a Targaryen princess, and therefore the implication of not needing Targaryen blood to claim a dragon, like that's gone now.
Yeah. I mean, I think we get some of that with both Ulf and Adam, right? Like,
Yeah, especially with Ulf,
they, they,
because that's very
they
vague.
both have doubts about their Targaryen
Yeah,
and their blood ability to ride a dragon, and like neither of them are sure. And so I think there's some implication of that, and so that part of it, I think, it's not the end. You know, I think it would have been cool to ruminate on that a little bit more, but I don't think that part of it is the worst cut. But yeah, I mean, you know, we have. Would it have slowed things down too much to introduce Nettles? Probably, maybe a little bit, but I don't know. I think if we'd had the final 2 episodes, maybe it wouldn't have. Maybe it would have worked better. I'm
yeah,
not sure.
yeah. But that ship has sailed.
But it would have been cool to have like that new interesting perspective at the very least.
Maybe
From
maybe episode
very much not
yeah
Targaryen looking at all.
yeah maybe episode 9 will shadow drop this Sunday. Who knows? Copium. I am on Copium.
The secret final Sherlock episode or whatever.
Yeah. Isn't that what they did with season 7? They didn't tell audiences how many episodes it would have, and people assumed it was going to be 6 episodes, and then they revealed a 7th episode. Am I crazy in saying that? Is that not what happened?
I don't know.
Oh yeah. You stopped watching around season 5.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I also watched it after all of it had already come out.
Yeah.
So I was. I was not paying attention to when it was releasing anyway.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't think we're getting a secret 9th episode. We don't get a Blackwater this season, which does suck. But shall we talk about the actual ending of this episode and this season?
Yeah.
Yeah. This ending scene of both Rhaenyra and Alicent, which, by the way, what a marvelous like transition, you know, between Rhaenyra being confined in all of this Targaryen lineage, like being imprisoned by these bars, and then the freedom that Alicent has in being powerless, essentially. Really good stuff.
And Alicent has been talking about how like she's lost, like she has nothing, she's lost everything, and that's given her her freedom. And I've been thinking about the Me and My Bobby McGee, that song, and George has a short story about that song, and I think it's been, you know, it's got the line, freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose. Mm-hmm. And like George wrote a story about that song, and it feels like that's sort of the Alicent's arc. The second half of the season is like coming to realize that.
Yeah, I mean, can I say
she's lost everything now? She is in some sense free.
Can I say, like, I genuinely believe, like, Alicent is one of the, like, most compelling characters in this entire series, and people online after this episode are just absolutely, like, tearing into her character, and I fundamentally disagree with most of the takes I'm seeing online. I, like, Rhaenyra's character, love. Alicent's character, especially this episode, I found extremely compelling. People are complaining about how, it's a character assassination of her going to Rhaenyra and essentially turning to Team Black. And it's like, what is, people on the internet are like, what is this? Like, a book Alicent would have never done this. Like, a show Alicent is like selling out her sons, and she's basically agreeing to execute Aegon. And like, what is this? And I'm like, okay, can we dig a little bit deeper? Like, can we get a little bit more nuanced, please? Like, there's clearly more to be said about what Alicent is feeling in this moment. And I fundamentally disagree with most of the Alicent takes I am seeing on the internet. I really hope this situation does die down eventually, of people ripping into this season. I really hope that when season 3 comes out, or God forbid, like, when this series ends, people will look back at this and it'd be like, oh yeah, maybe that wasn't all so bad.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean, I think any gripes people have with this season will be washed away if seasons 3 and 4 are terrific. Like, if people think that the build up to this season is worth it, I enjoyed the build up in and of itself, but I think people who didn't enjoy the build up, if it is paid off well in the next 2 seasons, nobody will care that that they used to find this season a little slow. Like,
yeah, because think about if you are a new House of the Dragon viewer in the year 2028, right? After all 4
mm-hmm.
seasons have been completed. You watch season 2, episode 8, and what does it fucking do? It's 3 a.m. It's 3 a.m. And you just finished watching House of the Dragon season 2, episode 8. What do? Do you go to sleep? Like, no, you don't go to sleep. You watch season 3. This gets you pumped for season 3.
Yeah.
And so I think, like, once we have the show in its entirety, like people are gonna stop complaining about this episode, which was a fantastic episode, by the way. Like, even though, like, I understand the sentiment of, like, this didn't feel like a finale. Like, I don't think they're. I like this episode was really good.
Yeah, and it won't matter if the next season is if the beginning of next season is fantastic. Like, it'll show that the seasons are connected to each other.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, we don't like. When I think about seasons of Game of Thrones, I don't think of them like, obviously there's importance to where the big moments are placed, but I think about how good the big moments are and how they affect the characters.
Yeah.
And I don't really think of season 3 as like a complete story in and of itself. I think, season 3 was really well written and had these great moments.
Yeah.
End of.
Can I give you a hot take?
Go for it.
I don't think the Red Wedding was executed very well.
Mm.
I don't think the Red Wedding was executed very well in the show. It read a lot like the showrunners wanted to do all the gore porn with stabbing a pregnant woman in the belly and then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And I think thematically it has issues in part because they don't really do the Feast for Crows stuff. Because, like, if you read Feast for Crows and you still think Robb is a good guy, you're, like, you didn't actually read the book. But the showrunners seem to think Robb is a good guy, and that is, I think, an issue in season 3. Like, it should be important that Robb is, like, going back to this whole franchise being anti-war. Like, Robb is doing a war. War is bad. Like, we talk so much about how lions and there's not much difference between lions and wolves. And, like, of course, in the book, he, like, allies himself with the brave companions who are evil. Like, Rob is doing bad things in the book that they cut out of the show.
Yeah.
To make Rob seem like a good guy, so that the Red Wedding would feel more tragic. Because Rob is less of a, like, bad, like, has less of a bad side to him. But they wanted him to feel like a good guy, and, like, this is the one where the good guys get stabbed. But that's not.
Oh, did your mic cut out? You stopped talking in the middle of your sentence. Uh-oh. Did we lose xElizor?
Did we?
Oh, no, you're back. You're good. You're good.
Okay.
Welcome back.
I'm talking suddenly.
What were you just saying? Did you?
I'm done talking.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I think I definitely think that even though, in Game of Thrones we had plenty of morally gray characters, I feel like the Game of Thrones really wanted us to, compared to the books, Game of Thrones, the TV show, really is, like, less morally gray than people make it out to be. Because you do have your heroes and villains in Game of Thrones. Meanwhile, in the books, like, you're not rooting for anyone, really. You're rooting for the children to stay alive, because like, on a humanitarian lens, that's a good thing. If children survive to see the next day, that's a good thing. Yeah, and Brienne too. Yeah. I feel like this show's doing... And Davos, yeah. And Davos. But yeah, this show's doing a real good job showing us how dynamic these characters are, and I really appreciate it. And screw the people who are saying that character motivations are wishy-washy. Yeah, they change. They change. That's a thing that happens. People change their minds, like, all the time.
Yeah. And that happens quite regularly in, most media, but specifically the books. That's people change their minds constantly, but it's because there are things changing their minds. I'm thinking about John's story in the books. Like, John learns and grows and changes, and, like, is book 1 John letting the wildlings through the wall? Probably not. Like, his character's wishy-washy because he now cares about stuff after having gone through this.
Yeah.
Gone through 3 books of insanity. Yeah.
Another thing is, like, I mentioned this earlier in the video, but the double standard that people have with Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon. Okay, so people are complaining about Rhaenyra and Alicent being quote-unquote stupid, incompetent leaders, right? Okay. Sure, like, you can have that opinion, but people take it a step further, from what I've seen on the internet, of, it's the writer's fault that these characters are making dumb decisions. It's the writer's fault. And I'm like, okay, can we think back to the first 3 books of A Song of Ice and Fire? Like, where were you when Catelyn freed Jaime Lannister, or when Catelyn captured Tyrion, or when Robb beheaded the Karstark guy? Like, people make mistakes. And it's not because the writers are incompetent, it's because people make mistakes.
Like, literally, Jesus. Nobody in the books does a good job of being in charge.
Yeah. Where
Tyrion probably does the best job, and he's still like getting played by both Varys and Littlefinger
Yeah.
the entire time.
Yeah.
Like
uh
John, Danny, like Marine. The Marine chapters? You think Danny's doing a good job of ruling Marine?
yeah. Where were you when Cersei was driving King's Landing into shit in A Feast for Crows,
Yeah.
right? And even Tyrion in the 5th book, like Tyrion is not a saint. Tyrion is a very bad person by the time we get to the 5th book. So it's like, I don't know. These people really, it really feels like that these people are incapable of. Okay, this is sounding harsh, but I won't pull my punches. No, no. These people are having a hard time grasping the concept that a character can A, change, and B, that they can have a, an opinion of a character that changes over time. I don't know. It's crazy to me.
Yeah.
I
feel like in Game of Thrones there aren't characters who, like, everybody you are supposed to like at the beginning, you're supposed to continue to like throughout the show, and vice versa. Like, there's nobody who you like at the beginning and then does enough bad stuff that you end up not liking them.
Yeah, Jaime was close. Jaime was close, but then they ruined it.
Maybe Jaime.
No, Jaime was close, and then they ruined it.
Yeah.
And then they ruined it in season 8.
By season 3 and 4, people are back on Jaime's side.
Yeah.
But there's a reason people are like, Jaime was the best character. Like, lots of people think Jaime's arc is the best, and it's because he's the one where people change their opinion on him.
Yeah.
Like, nobody's changing their opinion on Jon throughout the show.
Yeah.
Even though he does a bunch of bad stuff in the book. And, he may be doing it for the right reasons, but he's messing stuff up, and then he gets stabbed because he didn't do it correctly.
Yeah.
And, like, yeah, I know.
But when Alicent's changes, it's bad, because she's a woman.
Yeah. Yep. Because that's the other thing that happens in the show, is that none of the women ever get character development. Because
Brienne is kind of static, huh? Evil. Brienne is kind of static, huh? Even though she's a badass and cool character, she is kind of static.
Well, there's the whole thing in the I haven't seen season 6, so I'm going mostly off of Glidus piss takes. But like, Brienne's arc at the end of season 5 is completely ruined by the beginning of season 6, because they have her do both. Like, they set up a choice where she has to either save Sansa or kill Stannis, and then she's able to do both.
Yeah.
Like, you have her make a choice, and then you undo the choice.
Yeah, exactly.
So that she doesn't have to ever make a choice and doesn't have to grow as a character. Because people liked her as a character, and so they're not going to make anybody dislike her as a character. And, like, they make Dany turn evil at the end. But there hasn't been any period of people, like, the narrative souring on Dany before this. And so it's jarring, not because Dany can't possibly turn evil, but because, like, they expect us to already like, they haven't done any build-up for us disliking Dany, but then they want us to dislike Dany.
Yeah. I'm gonna go to this image for a bit. Yeah. This season really did feel like a season of everybody sort of reconfiguring themselves and us, like, finding out where the chess pieces are going to be placed. And I can understand if people find that boring, if there isn't, like, a big battle at the end, because right now, like, sure, if the season finale doesn't end on, like, a big battle, like, I get if someone feels that they've been setting up lots of things for no payoff at the end. Like the payoff's happening season 3, guys. Like be be a little bit be patient, you know. Be patient.
Yeah.
And you know, if there was a Battle of the Blackwater this season, great. This season would have been fantastic. As it stands, still a very, very good season as a whole, and this episode definitely was really good.
Yep.
Even if you are going to be complaining about the fact that, you know, this season felt incomplete, like, don't blame the writers, don't blame like the Ryan Condal, like, blame HBO for cutting 2 of the episodes. You know, I've heard the strangest take earlier today. There was this one comment, and someone said, "Oh, it's the showrunner's job to do better with the resources that they have," which is just an idiotic take. Because the writers wrote, so what happened was the writers wrote 10 episodes, and then HBO decided to cut 2 of the episodes. And they didn't have any time to reconfigure because then a big strike happened. And then they were only able to do changes after the strike. And so the writing process was very stifled. Yeah, but that's not the fault of the writers or the producers. That's big HBO. And it's like, please don't go after the writers. Please don't go after the writers. Literally anyone but the writers. There's a reason why the writers went on strike in the first place. Please don't blame the writers. They're doing a great job.
Yeah, people are complaining that there are scenes that feel repetitive, and I think this isn't necessarily the worst criticism. Like, there are scenes where that sort of have the same point about, you know, Rhaenyra not wanting to go to war or wanting to ride a dragon. People don't want her to ride a dragon. And I think that would have been fixed if, like, they were allowed to change some of those scenes.
Yeah.
While they were going.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, getting a feel for it. But they weren't allowed to change anything because of the strike. You know, I'm in favor of strikes, but it is just annoying when it impacts a show you like.
Mm-hmm.
I support all workers listening to this video. Striking is good when it's good. Yeah, unions are cool.
Yes.
Yeah, but going back to, I think, to something you were talking about earlier, but I think we've been conditioned not, the whole binging notion has taken us out of a mindset for serialized stories. Like, people want the entire story immediately, and so they become unable to, like, interact, like, see when there's a break, see what has already come out as the finished work of art, and not a piece of a to be completed work of art. Like, this season is a season which makes it the work of art in and of itself, and people are viewing it in isolation. Mm-hmm. Which they wouldn't do if they were, as you have said, which they wouldn't do if they were streaming the whole thing. But because it's serialized, and people don't know how to handle serialization anymore because everything's been binging for the last decade.
Yeah, exactly. There are, what, like 60 seasons of RuPaul's Drag Race? Crazy.
Yeah. Like, if you want to binge something, you can go sit down with.
Hey, I have a good idea. Right. If you want to binge something, why don't you binge the entirety of Game of Thrones and see if this episode compares to season 8 or not?
Yeah.
I have a task for you.
I have a task for you. It's watch Beyond the Wall 12 times in a row and try not to go crazy.
Yeah. Oh, man. Um, final thoughts about this episode. Is there anything we haven't talked about that you would like to mention or bring up?
Uh, we didn't really talk about, like, the whole thing that was going on with Simon and Alfred Broom and all those, and that part of it. Like, the other stuff that happened at Harrenhal this episode.
Yeah. Okay, so
But
Alfred
I don't
Broom.
know how much of that we need to talk about.
Okay, sure. Yeah. Um,
I mean, I thought it was interesting, and I thought it was funny when Alfred Broom, like, tries to run away sheepishly
I
again.
I found it really funny when Simon Strong was like clapping in the background.
Yeah.
Oh my god, he's so cute. Yeah. This is a good show. This is a good show, XElizor.
Yeah.
I'm I I'm really excited for season 3. I am very optimistic, yeah. Despite the seemingly dark news that season 3 and 4 will be 8 episodes each, I'm gonna hope for the best. And even if the worst comes to pass, then at least the writing team and Ryan Condal knows about it ahead of time. Instead of what happened this season which was, them writing 10 episodes and then having to cut down to 8. At least they will know that they will have 8 episodes if that happens. So I am very optimistic.
Like, if it was the 2 episodes that were supposed to be the end of this season, plus 8 episodes next season, would that be enough to get us where we should be before the final season?
Oh yeah, definitely. 10 episodes for season 3, that'll be enough.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, hopefully. Fingers crossed. Inshallah.
Mm-hmm. This show is very good. If you disagree, you're a misogynist. How about we leave it at that?
Yeah.
Bye, Xelazor. Bye, everybody.
I know.